I'm Bishop Darrell Watkins, and let's queer up students and youth culture. California battles feds over trans student privacy. California is taking the Trump administration to court in a high-stakes fight over transgender student privacy and billions of dollars in federal education funding. State Attorney General Rob Bonta has filed a lawsuit against the U.S. Department of Education and the federal government in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California. The suit challenges a federal threat to withhold approximately $4.9 billion in annual education funding tied to California's law prohibiting the forced outing of transgender students. At the center of the dispute is Assembly Bill 1955, signed into law in 2024. The law bars schools from requiring staff to disclose a student's gender identity to parents without the student's consent. California argues that federal officials have misapplied the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, or FERPA. According to the complaint, FERPA does not require schools to affirmatively disclose a student's gender identity or pronouns to parents unless there is a valid records request. Federal officials demanded several, quote, corrective actions, end quote, including assurances that districts may adopt parental notification policies, warning that failure to comply could result in the loss of all federal funding. In a recent development, U.S. District Judge Noel Wise granted a temporary restraining order blocking the federal government from withholding funds while the case moves forward. The temporary restraining order will remain in effect until the court decides the case on its merits. California's lawsuit seeks a declaration that the demanded corrective actions are unlawful, along with preliminary and permanent injunctions. I just think it's super important to remember that students are humans. And people have, they have agency. We're talking about their identity. We're talking about their body. We're talking about their safety. And outing anyone for almost any reason can put them in great danger. Whether it's about being, lesbian or trans or non-binary or even just questioning. I'm trying to work it out. There are families that will not be supportive. There are families that will be abusive. So this is outrageous to me. Sometimes I remember in school that I was someone at school that I wasn't necessarily in church or at home or whatever, because that was the place I could try things on. I could test boundaries or whatever. And so, yeah, it is cruel, which is on brand, but it is cruel that they would try to take away youth safety by saying, do it our way or we'll out you. And if they don't comply, then we're going to, mess with your education.
Yeah, I mean, that's extortion, first of all. And to deny these young people their right to privacy, I mean, you're absolutely right. Sometimes the safest thing for a child is to not let their parents know.
As a school teacher, I feel that I could really speak to this. Students come to school because in a lot of cases, maybe not all cases, but a lot of cases, it's their safe place. So what they're trying to do, these meanies, these MAGA Republicans, what they're trying to do is they're trying to take away any safe refuge that these students have. And they want to create a world that is hostile. They want to create a world in their image because they interpret the Bible, they interpret whatever their preacher is saying. They interpret these things in such dark and hellfire, brimstone kind of ways that they want to make that a reality for these students, and they want them to live in the same hell that they're living in and projecting from. And I think that ultimately, in the short term, it might work, but ultimately, I don't think that it's going to prevail. And I do think FERPA is a very strong protection that we have. And if parents want to get that information about their students, there's a process, there's a protocol, you follow the process. But a teacher shouldn't have to call up a parent immediately and say, your student told me X, Y, and Z. That should be between the student and the teacher, or administration, however it's supposed to work. but it doesn't have to be something that needs to be disclosed, especially if a student is going to go home and face beatings, possibly, in worst case scenario, death,
Exactly.
These parents,
Homelessness.
these parents, they don't play. When they don't like gay people, it doesn't matter if it's their son or their daughter, they're out because they have been so indoctrinated and brainwashed that they could turn their back on a family member, the one that they're supposed to love.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing. People have kids sometimes because it just happens.
Right.
Just because someone is a parent does not mean they know what's best for their child.
No.
And I think that we need to get away from a parent knows what's best for their child. Many do, but many don't. And if you have a parent who's actively trying to sabotage a young person, they don't know what's best for their child. And, perhaps people who deal with young people all the time, like Brian, you're a teacher.
Right.
So you know better about what is best and not best for a child than many of their parents because you see how they are living and interacting.
And if 33% of the country doesn't understand LGBT, gay, lesbian, sex, if they understand sexual, I would say 90% don't understand gender issues. Now, I realize that 99% of all statistics are made up on the spot to make a point, but it's true that I think many, many more people don't get gender stuff. And so even if I'm a good person, and I really love my kids, and I try to do my best, I might not be equipped for that information, especially without some, context.
I'm all about the process. Parents can know about their children, but follow the process. It shouldn't be that the school is a narc or a
Yes.
Right,
on your
exactly.
child.
And the teachers are put in a horrible position.
And the teachers are put in a horrible position because once a student discloses certain information about their identity, it becomes incumbent upon that teacher, based on what the Trump administration is wanting, is that they want a teacher to narc out their student and
No
call the
bueno.
parent
No.
immediately
Yeah.
and say your student is gay or your student is non-gender conform, whatever it is.
Right.
That might be the place where they are able to experiment with exactly who they are as a human
And I
being.
want to apologize to the entire audience that we could not drum up any passion around this issue. But maybe next time we'll get excited.
Let me just say
sorry
that
about
California
No, we do.
is fortunate to have an attorney general
Yes.
such as
Yes.
Rob Bonta, who's willing to challenge Trump
Exactly.
and the tattered remains of the U.S. Department of Education. Unfortunately, here in Florida, we have a right-wing extremist, James Uthmeyer, or as he's better known by his drag name, Hope Florida.
There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight.